entertaining and informative.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
77 WABC.
So let me just say, I'm here today, yes, for my friend President Trump, but more importantly, I'm here for Alina Habba. All eyes should be on Alina Habba now. I am telling you that she's speaking tonight. Her speech is going to be over the top. Yeah. And as my best friend and as somebody who has, done tremendous work for this country as a patriot, 40-year-old patriot, who busts her tuchus trying to help this country, I'm in awe. I don't know how to speak when I see this young generation.
Siggy flickered on Thursday, hours before Alina Habba took the stage at the convention. There's a great picture of me on Instagram. I'm standing, and behind me, is Alina at the podium and a huge TV screen of Alina as well, and she was great. Big night. Obviously, you had Dana White, Hulk Hogan, Eric and Donald Trump, but Alina was terrific, too, and here she is, the great attorney, my friend Alina Habba. Alina, good morning. How are you?
Morning, Sid. How are you? How great an opening was that from Siggy? I'm a lucky girl.
She loves you. She is. She's a wonderful.
I love her.
Yeah, she's great. You guys are both great, and she was looking forward to that speech on Thursday night. So was I, and you knocked it out of the park. I really, really enjoyed the story you told, Alina, when you were walking down the street, and some guy stopped you talking about Trump, and you said that Trump was on the phone and said, "Give him the phone." And the next thing you know, Donald Trump is talking to some stranger on the street. That was a great story.
By the way, he's done that with me multiple times. He's done that with me. And that was just one story. And he's just always, if he hears somebody speaking to me as I'm walking, told me to give them my phone and he'll speak to them. That's who the president is. He's amazing.
He is amazing. And we were lucky to have him last week after what happened just 2 days before the event that Saturday night. And we've been over it a million times, obviously, but it's your first time on this show since. And everybody knows how close you two are. I asked the same question of everybody in Milwaukee last week, Alina, and that was, where were you when it happened, and what was your initial reaction?
I was in the car with my daughter. She's 8 years old. She knows the president well, and she was devastated as well. Siggy actually called me first, and I didn't believe her. My daughter put her hands on her head and started shaking it and was so upset, and I was trying to calm her down. So I rushed home. I was about 2 minutes from home, ran to the TV and watched. And by the time I got home, he was still on the floor. And I was panicked. I called the kids. I stupidly called him. I know that they hold his phones during rallies. So I was hoping to catch one of his aides. And, you're in a state of frank shock. And I was quiet for a while. Probably an hour and a half until I spoke to the kids, and we all first got a hold of him, and then I was hysterical. I think then it kind of sank in. So.
Yeah. Well, so how long?
Rough. I was supposed to go to that rally. I didn't go. I had just gone to the Doral rally and spoken just a few days prior.
Right.
So I chose to sit this one out, but it was crazy.
Thank God. So how long after would you estimate you spoke to the president after he was shot?
I spoke to the family
right
after.
Okay.
I flew with him and saw him the next day. Flew to Bedminster after the emergency room late at night. And then Sunday I was at Bedminster with him. And we flew to the RNC.
I got to tell you, Alina, you've seen the ugliness maybe better than anybody. Traveling from courtroom to courtroom to courtroom, whether it's been Letitia James here in New York to that disgraced Alvin Bragg. You've seen ugliness with a capital U. But when you see the amount of Democrats, and I'm talking about media people and entertainers, people like Whoopi Goldberg, who was saying, "Oh, stop, what's the big deal?" Joy Behar, "Oh, stop, what's the big deal?" And others. The list goes on and on of people that are making Trump out to be a crybaby. He was a millimeter away from being murdered in front of millions of people. And these bastards, these son of a bitches, have spent the last week, Alina Habba, making him out to be a crybaby. Can you believe that?
Well, they're losers. So period, the end. When you're a loser and you're trying to be relevant, you say ridiculously inflammatory things, not realizing words of somebody on TV have meaning, and your words are part of the problem with the divisiveness in this country. They want to say that we're radical. No, you're radical, and you're a loser. And anybody that could ever say that somebody who was almost assassinated is a crybaby, all I can say to you is shame on you, and God prays on. I really pray for you because you have no soul, you have no heart, and there is nobody in this country that should ever diminish somebody almost getting shot because of political animus. And quite honestly, they are part of the problem.
Whoopi Goldberg even took a shot at Kai. I mean, his granddaughter, Junior's daughter, who was really spectacular. I thought one of the real highlights of the whole week. And she comes out the next day and says, listen to me. Don't you fall for this grandpa stuff. He is not that guy. First of all, she doesn't know him. She doesn't know him. Right. And he is that guy. That's exactly who he is. A great father, a great grandfather. That's exactly who he is.
Excuse me, Whoopi. When you're talking about President Trump, I want you to look at President Biden and how he hasn't met one of his grandchildren, okay? Because all that they project, all this woke BS, inclusiveness, and, let's indoctrinate our children and let them have surgeries when they don't even know their own sexual preference at the age of 5. I mean, all the crap that they have put into this world that we now have to protect our children from. Shame on you. President Biden hasn't even met one of his grandchildren.
That's right.
Okay? That's who you want to stand with. Feel free. I stand with President Trump. I love Kai. She's an angel. She's such a great girl, and she's a golfer. And the kahunas on that kid to get up there at 16 and do what she did for her grandfather, shame on you for saying anything about a child other than praising them for doing such a beautiful thing. And she is the problem. These people are the problem. These people are the problem, not the Republicans, not the people that are trying to save this country from falling into Russia and a state of banana republic. The divisiveness comes from the disgraceful comments of Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar, the same women that are too afraid to have me on their show because they know I would wipe the floor with them.
I would pay to see that. And George Stephanopoulos the very next day and Margaret Brennan the very next day after the shooting were yelling about Trump. It's hard to believe. But, here you are, Alina. You're a woman, obviously, and you're tremendously successful, obviously. One of the tops in your field as an attorney, and the opportunity to speak at a convention. That's not a small thing. And here comes what looks like will be the competitor for our guy Trump. And she's a woman. Look, the first woman vice president. She's black. She's a female. All these glass ceilings. But when you really look at her, she's been an abysmal failure in every political role she's had. And if she wasn't a quote-unquote black woman, she'd never be vice president today. So I'm asking you, as a woman, do you look at Kamala Harris and go, well, I want Trump to win, but it's nice to see a woman getting this far, or do you say, I know how you got there? Let's be honest.
Look, I'm the opposite of Whoopi Goldberg and Joy. I can say this. I am all for everybody that works hard getting to where they need to be. But my concern is not about her as a woman, her as a minority woman. My concern is about the job she was put in place to do as VP and didn't do. She was in charge of the border. Okay, so I look at facts based on your work. You were in charge of the border. You never went to the border. The border is a disgrace. So I don't really care how you got there. I care how you did in your job. So if you think you should be promoted, which is what she's asking the American people to do, that to me is completely nonsensical. You didn't earn that. You didn't even earn the spot you were in, frankly. But now you're saying that, look at my record. Well, your record speaks for itself. So I'm not going to get into some feminist BS because that's a very, the liberals would love to do that and say, and that's what they'll use. They'll use the female card. I don't ask people to do that with me. It's about what you did, how hard you worked, and how you performed. And her performance has been terrible. So, if that's the best that the liberals have, God bless them. We're going to kick them in November.
We are going to kill him. So on the way out, Alina, right before Trump had that horrible Saturday in Pennsylvania, man, we had a couple of really good weeks, right? I mean, you had the Supreme Court come back and say, yeah, he is immune. And then, of course, we had the judge Cannon drop the case. All these legal battles, right? All of a sudden, after all those long, hot summer days with you in court, with the DA and AG here in New York, we're trying to win some of these things, and it looks like a lot of these legal issues are going away, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're falling like dominoes. So when you have weak cases and you have no cases and they're based on political animus, there's something called the law that tends to fall on your side. When you get away from judges that are politically motivated, you go to the higher courts. We are seeing each and every one of these fall apart. If you don't forget with Letitia James, she wanted $500 million. Well, the appellate division turned around and said, yeah, no, we're not doing that, and knocked it down, 20%. It's just crazy. So there is some remnants of law and order. There is some remnants of that, and it's unfortunately in the higher courts, because the lower courts, the people that are getting elected and being indoctrinated, being supported by radical left donors, those people are unfortunately not doing their jobs in their black robes. So we're seeing a fall of something that never should have been. Okay, let's speak like Kamala Harris now. What was once should not have been. But the truth is that it should not have existed. These indictments were a joke. They were a sham. They were a distraction. The fact that they all came past the statute of limitations, the fact that they all were rushed to trial and they couldn't keep up, and the fact that we have people sleeping with their fellow prosecutors and taking money from constituents. I could go on and on and on. These are people that ran on getting Trump, and now you are falling because you were so power hungry and you didn't listen and do what was best for your state, for your constituents. The state of New York has fallen apart, and these are the people to blame for it because they're using all their resources to get President Trump, and now it was wasted. Millions and millions of dollars of New York taxpayer money for nothing, for a sham show. That's what happened.
Well said. Look, you were terrific. You sounded great. You looked great on Thursday night. And I know it was a huge honor for you and your family, your husband. Wow. Your parents must have been so happy to watch you. And certainly me and Siggy were. So congratulations. You deserve it. Well done. And we keep fighting, Alina. We keep fighting to make sure our guy is back on Pennsylvania Avenue in November. Thank you so much for this morning.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you. That's Alina Habba, the great Trump attorney. And once again, she was terrific on Thursday night at the convention.